Hey marketers, thanks for joining Marketing Mob Talks today. My name is Anel Barnett and I am going to be your host. I am also the founder of Marketing Mob. We connect marketing leaders with qualified, hand-selected marketing talent. We also connect the marketing community with careers, education, and collaboration. It is in this spirit that we created Marketing Mob Talks. A few things to go over before we get started. Marketing Mob Talks takes place on the second Tuesday of every month at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Our next talks is scheduled for Tuesday, March 13th. We have another great lineup for you that you'll hear more about later in the presentation, so please be sure to mark your calendars. We record all sessions, so if you're unable to attend one of the sessions, go ahead and register and we'll send you the recording after the live event. In order to respect your time and keep each presentation to only 15 minutes, we're not going to open it up for Q&A today. However, each of the presenters has included their contact information at the end of their slides, so you can reach out to them directly, or you can contact me at abarnett@marketing-mob.com. We're so excited to announce the launch of the Marketing Mob community. We built this community to help marketers find exciting careers, grow their marketing skills, and collaborate with their peers. You can find out more and join the Marketing Mob community at marketing-mob.com/join. Basic membership is free. We're really excited to offer this new community to the marketing world, and we hope that you find it valuable as well. So now on to the presentations. Our first presenter is Jennifer Davis. She's the CMO of Honeywell Home and Building Technologies, which is a division of the Environmental and Energy Solutions business. In this role, she helps lead innovation and growth in connected homes and buildings. Jennifer's career spans from startups to Fortune 500 companies. She's a high energy senior executive who uses entrepreneurial skills to build high-performing businesses, product lines, and go-to-market strategies. Her talk today is on Tales of an Experienced Amateur, How to Thrive When Things Change. At this point, I'll turn the controls over to Jennifer. I hope you enjoy today's session of Marketing Mob Talks.
Hi, everyone. This is Jennifer Davis, and as Anel said, I run marketing for a division of Honeywell. And today I'm going to be talking about Tales of an Experienced Amateur and sharing some thoughts on how to thrive in times of change. But first, a little of my story and some context. "2017 has made me an expert on change. After several years of relative stability, I embarked on a huge scope of change last year. I took a new job with a new company, working for a new boss in a new city, which prompted that I pack up my family, including 2 kids, to move to a new city across the country, into a new apartment, and then into a condo, and now we're remodeling a house, enrolling the kids in a new school, and finding and building a new community." Whew, it was a lot. And it was our own path of totality as we traveled from Portland, Oregon to Atlanta, Georgia. So any of you who followed the eclipse this year basically got to see the path that we were on. And this amount of change has been at times dizzying, disorienting, exciting, and energizing. Basically, I've experienced motion sickness, and I figure you've experienced some yourself. Perhaps you find yourself in a new situation with a new set of responsibilities, some new stakeholders or new influences, and whether navigating new waters, riding along a bumpy new road, or having circumstances change suddenly, some motion sickness is really hard to avoid. And so today I'm going to share 3 strategies that I've been deploying this year in this head-spinning year of mine. So first off, the first piece of advice I have is get comfortable making mistakes. When I started the new job this past summer, I was back to being an amateur, and I don't know about you, but no matter how many years of experience one might have doing anything, when you start something new, by definition, it's new. And people learning things inevitably make mistakes. And I hate making mistakes. I'm a type A overachiever type, and every place I've ever worked has had a culture of problem solving and lean principles, have us monitoring and managing variation. We just don't like making mistakes. But I've had some practice over this past year making mistakes and have found that they have not been fatal. And it's good to remember that as a beginner, you can have a refreshing point of view and take some new insights. Steve Jobs called this being a beginner again, and being less sure about everything helped him at times enter into creative periods. And time will tell if this is a highlight of a creative period in my life, but I will tell you that it's been good to cultivate a sense of adventure, and it's this sense of being an amateur is something we have to nurture in today's dynamic and technology-driven environment, because things are constantly changing. And that's, of course, as they say, the only constant. So if an experienced person finds themselves as an amateur, fear of making mistakes can weigh heavy and be a worry. So how do we free ourselves to make mistakes and take risks and give our leadership a fresh perspective and a sense of urgency? Well, the fastest way that I have found is to really change your mindset and your frame of reference. What if mistakes that you make along the way of learning are not really real? What if they represent not failure, but a lack of imagination? Thomas Edison, one of the most prolific inventors of our times, is credited to responding to a critic by saying, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Well, I've been on my own journey of finding ways that don't work in different areas of my life. And I find that cultivating this kind of attitude has allowed me to free up from any paralyzing fear of failure. And there's some amazing new discoveries that were accidental or based on mistakes. The microwave oven, super glue, artificial sweetener, Teflon, even the Slinky that you see here in this image are all accidental inventions. And what began as a failed adhesive for one project became perfect for another, and thus we have Post-it notes. So I do feel that, you might have a spring that you dropped on the floor during some naval experiment, like the officer did who invented the Slinky, and you may find yourself with one of the most memorable and creative toys in history, right? Who's to say? It's really a framing and an attitude difference. So what have been my Slinkies? Well, I say I'm pretty good at reframing mistakes along the way and learning from them, but this week alone, I've misjudged the importance of a key business insight. I misread some cues from colleagues, and I found that one can't perfectly plan out and execute every detail of a cross-country move and a house remodel. So I know that might be a surprise to everyone but me, but throughout all of that, I find that I'm still here and I'm growing through it. So next time you make a mistake, after you apologize and do whatever you can to mitigate the immediate cleanup, ask yourself the question, based on these outcomes that I've observed, what should I learn from this? What problem would this be a solution for? These are all important things to keep in mind. Recently on an airplane, I watched a movie called The Last Word, in which Shirley MacLaine had this great little speech, and she said, you don't make mistakes. Mistakes make you. Mistakes make you smarter, they make you stronger, and they make you more self-reliant. So perhaps the next time you make a mistake, the things that you're developing the most might be yourself. So this leads to my second idea, and that is focus. Focus on a few priorities. When I moved to Atlanta, I set some goals for work, of course, but I also set some goals for myself. I was needing to build a community in the Atlanta area. I'd lived on the West Coast for a long time and was walking away from a ready network of that I cultivated in Portland over decades that were ready to support me with expertise, providing help in filling open positions, or providing me much needed counsel when I needed it. So when I decided to move to Atlanta, I had a list of catching up to do. I had a lot of catching up to do. So I put together a plan of attack, which began with contacts in Portland, asking them for introductions, through friends and colleagues and vendors who knew people here in Atlanta. I've attended some local events, through the Technology Association of Oregon, through an introduction from the Technology Association of Oregon that introduced me to the sister organization in Georgia. The Atlanta Business Chronicle was an introduction through the Portland Business Journal, which is a sister publication. And groups like the American Marketing Association and others have regional chapters. So all of these things, I was putting together a network and have just started to build that. Interestingly for me, the 6 people that I knew in Atlanta before I moved, I've only met in face-to-face with 2 of them, and they were probably the ones I knew the least. So the network didn't begin where I thought it would, and it's grown in really surprising ways. In fact, I was introduced to this podcast by another guest, Angela Nathan, and again, we met in an unexpected way. So these things, as we make active introductions, as we put ourselves out there, is just an example of meeting a goal and building on that positive momentum. So the real test of priorities and strategies is deciding what you're not going to do. So I have to say that in order to focus on my new job and relationship building, I've deprioritized some other things. And I haven't really gotten to know Atlanta very well from a driving perspective. Spoiled by my GPS and the fact that I take the MARTA train every day to my office in Midtown, I almost never drive very often or very far, which perhaps in this chapter of my life, I've given up my driving skills and let them atrophy a bit, but other skills have been stretched and stressed so that they're growing. So in other words, I'm going to be a great candidate for a self-driving car someday because I have a valid Georgia driver's license and virtually no driving ability left. So hopefully that'll be an encouragement to all of you who are making priorities in your life. And this leads me to my final point, that in the midst of change, it's really important to not forget who you are. To further torture this motion sickness analogy that I mentioned earlier, one of the common causes of dizziness is dehydration. And to avoid dehydration, they recommend drinking enough water and eating regularly and sleeping soundly. In other words, you can't neglect your health and happiness and expect your body to perform at its peak. Most of us have multiple interests at work and beyond work. And in times of change, it's important to really nourish those curiosities. At work, look for ways to learn new skills or expand your contributions. Again, not hard to do in times of change. And in your personal life, don't neglect the things that feed you, like your family or hobbies, time with friends, or time in reflection, or time in nature. I just returned from a women's retreat at nearby Lake Lanier, and during which the speaker led us through an insights discovery, those personality or communication style profiles that matches what you self-described as acronyms to these Jungian profiles to arrive at self-discovery. I'm a junkie for these kind of things, and it was good to be reminded that I'm an extrovert, so I need to spend time doing fun things with people, and that's how I recharge. So if I spend too much time in long budget meetings, combing spreadsheets for insights, proofreading presentations, or shopping for shopping for the best price on the living room rug, which is something I did this past weekend, my battery can get really low. And when my battery's low, I lose my ability to run the background applications of kindness and patience. And I don't know about you, but those are really important background applications that you don't want crashing on you. And so the fastest way I have found to do some of those things for me is to take the time and be purposeful about it. So there might be a few more concerts at Eddie's Attic, there might be a few more sporting events, an art project with friends, maybe even a day at the spa like this girl, maybe with a signature cocktail. And perhaps you need time alone to recharge, or spend time in your spin class, or curled up with a good book, or organizing your sock drawer, or weeding your garden, or singing bad karaoke. Whatever it is, remember that you need to keep your perspective. You've been experiencing a lot of change, and so it's really important that you nurture other parts of yourselves, because you're more than your business card. You're a three-dimensional person with three-dimensional interests and talents, and taking care of yourself will allow you to thrive and change. And you might just crush it like this little puppy here. The idea of change is so much easier than actually changing. Have you found that? The idea of wanting to learn new things sounds great, but learning is hard, and frankly, it makes you feel stupid. And the idea of personal growth is awesome, but in reality, it comes wrapped in failure, self-doubt, and a ton of inconvenience. Daniel Ek, a Swedish entrepreneur and technologist who you might know as the co-founder of Spotify, recently tweeted, "I can't think of anyone I admire who isn't fueled by self-doubt. It's an essential ingredient. It's the grit in the oyster. It's the passion, perseverance, and stamina that we must channel in order to stick with our dreams until they become reality." And I love the picture that paints of an oyster, wrapping this irritation or something as disruptive as uncomfortable as change in layers of persistence until the pearl is created. Without the pain, you don't get the pearl. So come to find out, oysters are not self-motivated. And the same may be true with us. It's the change, it's the irritation, it's the pain at times that makes us. First, by making us an experienced amateur, and then giving us the grit in our oyster to help us achieve our dreams and goals. So I would love to connect with each one of you. And I maintain a blog at jenniferdavis.com and regularly post on LinkedIn Pulse, and I can be found tweeting at Jennifer Davis. And I'd love to hear from each of you your own stories of being an experienced amateur and what you did to navigate times of change, because I'm still in the midst of it, and I bet you are too. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. Again, if you have any questions for her, you can reach out to her via the contact information listed on the screen, or you can email me and I can forward your questions to her at abarnett@marketing-mob.com. So our next presenter is Rhonda Gautreaux. Rhonda is a high-energy marketing, communications, and customer experience professional who understands how technology continues to reshape business and has the ability to link marketing strategy, corporate strategy, and technology to drive customer-focused business goals. Rhonda is currently seeking her next great career opportunity. In her past, she was the Vice President of Marketing at Southwire Company and Director of Marketing at ADT. Her talk today is on, is it really digital transformation? So I will turn the controls over to Rhonda.
Good afternoon. I appreciate you all for listening today. What do you think about when you hear the words digital transformation? I automatically think about business transformation, but then I ask, why are businesses transforming anyway? What's really at the center of business transformation? My answer, customers. Customers are at the center of transformation. Then I think, well, why do customers want businesses to transform? It's because it's personal. Customers expect you to know them and be informed about the relationship they have with you, their past history, and their preferences. They expect suggestions of things they like, and they expect answers. But all that makes it easy to do business from wherever they are at that exact moment when they engage with a company's brand. What has ended up happening with the idea of digital transformation is too much focus on the word digital, when the guiding principle of transformation is all about the customer preference and how they want to do business with you. John Chambers, who's a former executive chairman at Cisco, he said at least 40% of all businesses will die in the next 10 years if they don't figure out how to change their entire company to accommodate new technologies. I'm sure we can all agree on that. But again, I think of the why, and I would add new technologies that enable a business to quickly accommodate customer preference in a meaningful way, thereby moving the focus to customer transformation, which I think also clears up the definition of what the outcome of the effort should be. I'm sure, let's see if I can switch this. I'm sure, like me, you are all familiar with the tons of great articles, available tools, independent research, and lessons learned that exist around the topic of digital transformation. Since the term's inception a few years ago, many companies have ventured down the digital transformation road and are currently at various stages in the process. That progress has added even more to the noise around the topic. To use a cooking analogy, throw that information in with the variety of definitions and interpretations of digital transformation. And well, like I imagine most of you feel, I'm not sure what digital transformation is supposed to look like, taste like, or really even how to serve it up. My first bit of advice on the topic of how to move to customer transformation and move it forward at any organization is to gain consensus with your organization of what this thing called digital transformation means, and to ensure the effort is focused on the customer. Feel free to change that adjective from digital to customer too. From leadership to whoever the person is you are talking to at the moment, create one agreed upon universal definition that your leadership can get behind, and then educate the team. Repeat that definition at the beginning of every presentation and conversation that you have to gain alignment. Here's the definition I've come up with by taking published information, many individual conversations, some great research. I think it encapsulates how all that boils down. But the definition I'm going to show you will be a great place for you to start for your individual organizations. Certainly, you should discuss it and modify it to fit your company's goals and objectives around customer transformation. There is no generic roadmap that exists. You must look at your organization and start there. Some companies start with looking internally, some look externally. But consider asking a few folks at your organization to edit this one or craft your own. So customer transformation is the profound and agile transformation of business activities, organizational culture, processes, and competencies that are driven by the customer's preferences and can fully leverage the changes and opportunities found in both data and digital technologies and their impact across both society and an individual organization in a strategic and prioritized way, keeping both present and future shifts in mind to accelerate sustainable business practices. So that is a mouthful, but I've tried to put everything in there that I think is important to this idea of transforming your business. I think we can agree that digital transformation is high on the corporate strategy list, yet some numbers I've seen say up to 84% of transformations fail. Who or what part of the organization can impact success or failure the most? The next place to look, once your definition is complete, is to your customers. Customers are the driving need for digital transformation. As I said earlier, technology is enabling transformation, but should not be the primary focus of your transformation. Consider placing more focus on understanding customer experience and decision journeys, and also the organization and the prioritization of your data. Ultimately, you need to gain an understanding of what is driving the need for transformation at your individual organization, and therein lies your roadmap. Another great way to help influence transformation is to start by using lessons learned by other companies to help shape your company transformation. Now that companies have been working at this for a few years, there is great published data available around why digital transformation fails, and there's a lot of it. So what I've done is try to sum up a lot of that information and research into these three main drivers of success. Leadership. Lack of focus from the top down is the #1 reason cited for failure. Said another way, the CEO owns establishing the priority and moving the goal forward. That role is the one that creates clarity around key deliverables and establishes clear desired output of the transformation effort. This is much harder at older, established, and larger organizations. So what is happening are huge shifts in those types of organizations at all levels from leadership down. Some of you may even be products of that change. Integrating this transformation into business is hard. The CEO must lead that integration by having all leadership across the enterprise on the same page. The reason so many small niche companies are succeeding and seeing so much growth stems in part from the fact that those businesses are built on an agile digital platform. There is no need for difficult integration or culture change. I'm sure you've all heard the current comparison to the past history of business environments as this being the next industrial revolution or digital industrial revolution. Marketing, operations, logistics, customer service, sales, corporate communications, and other areas of the business will play key roles in an organization's transformation. Strong partnerships with a strong leader and a change management lead for the transformation itself are critical to success. If the organization's strategy doesn't center around driving the transformation, it impedes it. If your CEO is not building a single organizational partnership with key stakeholders and leaders, including having marketing at the table, you will be hard-pressed to impact change, as you are the key area that develops and executes the messaging to the customer. I encourage organizations to think hard about who at the organization is closest to the customer. Sales and marketing, not IT, not operations. This lack of strategic vision leads to scope creep and rising costs. Finally, part of this leadership change must include a way to eliminate the fear factor. After all, we're in uncharted territory, and if mistakes are made, it should be seen as a learning exercise. To address this, I like what I saw in an article back in 2016 that suggested holding a standalone risk session with leaders and stakeholders before starting down your transformation journey can help minimize risk. The second driver of success is obscure or differing ideas of what digital transformation means, not only in general, but across a single organization. If number one is not in place and number two exists, this obscurity can lead to individual silos, unintentionally moving the transformation forward in various directions, with various priorities and interpretations. Individual teams often generate individual and segmented efforts that can never move a transformation forward as one. Another approach that some organizations create are a part-time team of individuals that already have full-time jobs at the organization. I don't know about most of you, but can you add the job of digital transformation to your current job and successfully generate results? This is another symptom of obscure, differing ideas, not only of what transformation is, but how it needs to happen. Obscurity also leads to the wrong technology, which I'll address as you see in number 3. The point here is that in the absence of the right technology, people find workarounds. They build or install their own technology to address those individual needs we talked about a moment ago. This even further derails an enterprise effort by leading to initiatives that are not scalable across the organization. Establishing who's in charge and building a team dedicated to this effort is a key element of a successful transformation. However, I would caution you here, don't fall into investing and changing your organization all at once or ramping up a large team too quickly. Start small, build a focused effort that builds digital architecture combining leadership, people, and technology, because digital transformation happens over time with small yet consistent steps that are future versus current looking. I've seen a company that built a corporate strategy with the idea of digitally transforming at the heart of it, yet there was no plan and no leader and no idea on how to actually transform the organization. It made the strategy seem like a disguise for the current state of affairs. Drivers 1 and 2 lead to the third driver of success, and that's technology. And many organizations, IT, in an effort to serve their individual internal customer segments, the ones I just mentioned above, will try and lead this effort. Unfortunately, that often leads to purchasing and implementing technology with a focus on current operational processes rather than a digital future. Additionally, the business must spend time up front on investing in quality data or data quality, data storage, and developing a sufficient understanding around the integration of the data to enable the transformation. Other pitfalls around technology include a traditional view of purchasing a single technology or working with a single consultant. Many experts, people who own companies that help large organizations implement transformation, recommend against that. They say it doesn't work well if there's just an internal team or if the entire transformation is outsourced to an external team. Experts recommend a combination of the two. Another area to watch is when your organization is changing other digital aspects that will and can ultimately enhance the actual transformation, but they are not the transformation. An example of this can also be found in that same article I referenced earlier. The author is English, and he said, if I had £1 for every time I've spoken to an organization who say that they have already started on digital transformation because we're getting a new website, I would have a yacht. So let me summarize, Let me summarize and bring it back around to how can marketing impact customer transformation. Number one is to ensure a marketing seat at the table. Don't forget, we talk to the customer every day. We monitor social sentiment and analyze customer behavior throughout the customer's journey. And don't forget about the sales organization, another group who should be closely aligned with the customer and the marketing team. We also talked about working with leadership to create priorities and to define what digital transformation is for the organization. Let your customer guide your transformation strategy. Let your strategy guide your technology. Although I've not really gone into this one other thing in this short talk, I do recommend an investment in your customer experience initiative at your company with a proven customer experience firm as your guide. And I would suggest you do this early on in the process. Finally, create and maintain a trusted and valued and mutually beneficial relationship with your IT organization. You marketing, us, we marketing, can and should help to ensure our voice is heard so that marketing doesn't become part of the dust speck. Continue to let the customer be your guide in your transformation and build your strategy and roadmap around where that customer might take you in the next decade. Surely that's much easier said than done. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rhonda. That's such an informative presentation on what is a really hot topic these days. As she said, one of the most important things is to make sure that marketing has a seat at the table, which is often a challenge in lots of things in marketing. So Rhonda's contact information is on the screen. So if you have any questions for her, feel free to reach out, or again, you can email me as well. Our final presenter today is Angela Nathan. Angela is a marketing strategist who increases revenues by creating actionable plans that convert brand awareness into brand love. She is also seeking her next great career opportunity. Her prior positions include marketing leader, cookies, mini pastries, and donuts. That sounds like a fun role at CSM Bakery Solutions. And she was also the Director of Sales and Marketing Applications at Coca-Cola Refreshments. Her talk today is on Brand You, a personal branding primer. So I'll turn the controls over to Angela and let her take it from there.
So good afternoon. As Anel introduced, I'm Angela Nathan, and I'm excited to talk to you today about personal branding. Just make sure I got the, yep. Here we go. So as marketers, we recognize the importance of corporate brands. We protect them with trademarks, guidelines, and often an army of brand managers. As you can see here on the screen, numerous brands don't even have verbiage attached to it. It's just an icon, yet we know exactly what, you know, Nike or Apple is just by looking at the symbol. But when's the last time you really stopped to consider your own personal brand? And are you positioning yourself in the marketplace for success? When you look at your LinkedIn profile, do you see the before picture, the after picture, or maybe somewhere in between? Hopefully not the before. So in thinking about your personal brand, remember that people do business with people that they trust, and that's part of your brand. And we have statistics that state that from Nielsen. 90% of people trust messages from an individual that they know. So your brand is really important. So really, what is personal branding? It's how you package yourself for success. It's the practice of marketing you and your career as a brand. So think about creating an integrated marketing campaign for you. And that's what we're really going to talk about today. How do we do that? So what makes you memorable? A personal brand clearly communicates the value that you bring. And telling your story is powerful, and that's really what makes you memorable. It's how you present yourself online and offline to potential clients and employers. Your personal brand helps build your business and centers around you as an individual. So you really don't want your brand to be defined by others, do you? You need to manage it. So the first thing that we can do is a communications audit. Find out what's out there about you. So simply put, Google yourself. So go on Google and see what is already out there that's attached to your name. Make sure that you're purposeful in what you share and associate with other strong brands. And think about, the organizations that you are associated with, community, the groups that you're attached to on LinkedIn. Who are you following on Twitter? So think through that, and that all impacts your brand. So next we come to defining your personal brand statement. And this is really one or two simple sentences that answer your value. Who do you serve? Who's your audience? And what's your USP? It summarizes your unique value promise, and it's distinctive to you. Now, I've included an exercise here to help you do this. And first, I want you to think about 2 to 3 distinct strengths or attributes, and you need to be very specific. So, are you a critical thinker? Are you a strong mentor? Are you a leader? So those are the kinds of things that you need to start with. And then, what are the benefits of your distinct strengths? What value do you create for a company, and why is that important? Do you drive revenue? Do you save time? Do you build capability? What is that value? So put that down. And then think about the one thing at work that you're most motivated by. Are you, a process creator? Do you love seeing a task completed? Or do you really get excited when you see someone on your team move to that next level? And then what words might describe you, your personality, or your unique traits? Ask some of your colleagues, your best friend, your partner. Are you a connector? Are you a problem solver? Are you the one that's always got the creative idea? Think about those words and put those down. And then roll all of those key aspects together in a sentence or two that describes your unique personal brand. So the most effective personal brands are built around 7 key elements. You really need to be authentic. Think about the consistency of your branding, your package. Your value proposition is what differentiates you from others with similar positions. How do you uniquely bring that value? Make sure that you're visible. And then your story really is the part that's memorable about you. And in looking at my story as an example, I started my career as a journalist, and I pride myself on being objective and looking at problems at an objective level. And then I seek to understand, and I ask a lot of questions. And I'm able to communicate things that are complex in simple, easy words and easy language. So that's part of my own unique story. Think about your background and how that can add to your brand. So here are some personal brand examples. And I'll start with my own. So increasing revenue by creating actionable strategy and converting brand awareness to brand love. And I explain brand love as being able to convert customers into the willingness to pay more from for your service or your product. So I've got 3 other examples here, and we'll move to Kent. I energize, focus, and align manufacturing organizations, resulting in sustainable acceleration of processes, reduction in waste, and growth of profits. So Kent really focuses here on his value. Let's move on to Mindy. Helps thought leaders write great books in just 90 days. 300 satisfied clients so far. Mindy just really gets to the point here, and I would want to work with her. 300 satisfied clients. So that's really hones in on, again, her value. And then lastly, I have an example from Meg. I love collaborating with revved up, forward-focused corporate leaders. She's telling you her audience who know where they're going next. And then together we create and strategically position vibrant career marketing communications that differentiate their unique value proposition from their competition. Now this one's a bit longer, but she really gets into the details of what she does with her customers or her clients. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of context around what we're looking for here. So next, how do you apply this once you have your branding statement? So think about, just turn on your best professional skills, look at your resume, your portfolio, and your online presence, and create your own integrated marketing campaign. Think about consistency and choose a color palette. Look at your fonts and your use of graphics. This is really the fun and exciting part of your personal branding. Next, your media plan. Make a list of every place you have an online presence or where you don't and you need to, and then apply your brand guidelines. Of course, LinkedIn, Twitter, can you write? Do you have a blog? Facebook, everything communicates. And particularly remember your profile picture and your email signature. I can't tell you how many people I get emails from with no contact information, no link to your LinkedIn, and make it easy for people to find you and to understand what your unique brand is. So do your research. Look at people who have positions that you desire or that are peers of yours. What works for them? What are they doing? Which social media are they using? And look at their content and their design, their images. And after all, you know, as it states here, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. You know, look at and see what's in the marketplace and do your benchmark study. So here's some additional tactics. Start with the basics, and I've included mine here as an example. Get a personal business card, as I stated before, your email signature, and then your social media platforms. And you'll notice here, my color is orange, and I use a gray for my typography. I have a very consistent photo background, and then I have my tagline everywhere. So there's no mistaking what my brand is and what I'm all about. I've offered one other example here, and this gentleman has his own personal logo. You can see consistent use of photography, consistent use of color. His logo is everywhere. And this just gives you another example of how you have that integration of look and feel. So think about your brand. It's your reputation. First, we talked about defining it. Then you need to communicate it and live it. And then you move into managing and protecting your brand. So like corporate brands, your strong personal brand should be everywhere. It should be ubiquitous, and you definitely need to protect that asset. So finally, it's your brand. And what other way is better to illustrate your marketing expertise? It's not too late to start. It's never too late. And remember, it's a process. You don't have to have everything today. Start slow and add things to your repertoire. So consider, getting your, get your business card, do your email signature. And one of the things that I did was I created my own personal website, which when you think about, people learn in different ways, and having a picture of your brand out there and having your portfolio, it's an online resume. So it's really been a fun process for me, and it's something that is very doable. So if you think that might be a little beyond your skill set, you can get help. There's lots of help out there. You can look on Fiverr is one example, and there are consultants that can help you with writing, with design at very, very low cost. They can even help you with blogs. So there's help out there. It's a process, so you don't have to do everything at once, but just do it. It is really something that you will be thankful for. It is your most important asset as a marketer, and it's a lot of fun. So I hope that I've been able to inspire you and give you a few ideas and suggestions today to increase your brand awareness and to think about your value. And remember, managing your brand is your greatest asset. And I would love for you to contact me. My information is here, and I appreciate you listening today. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a bunch, Angela. I can't, as somebody who looks at LinkedIn profiles constantly, I can't reinforce enough how important this is, and take all even remotely similar before images that she put at the beginning of the screen, take those down off all of your profiles across social media. It's very important. So I want to thank all three of our presenters. We had some great content today. Again, feel free to reach out to Angela directly, or you can contact me if you have any questions about her presentation. We already have at least 2 of our presenters scheduled for next month. Again, that will take place on March 13th at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. We have the CMO of the Honey Baked Ham Company. Her name is Joanne Harold, and her talk is going to be on leading with love. Secondly, we have Selena Evans. She's the president of Meliora Consulting, and her topic is going to be on act like a marketer, think like an engineer. And then finally, we had somebody lined up for the last talk, but unfortunately her schedule created a conflict, and so she can't join us. So I'm opening this up to you as our community. If you're a great speaker and you have something valuable to say to the marketing community here at Marketing Mob, definitely let me know. Or if you know someone who's a great speaker, I'd love to hear from you about them as well. Again, my email address is abarnett@marketing-mob.com. You can register for this next talk series at https://goo.gl/S, J, lowercase v, H, R, V. So we really appreciate your time and attention today, and we look forward to hosting you in the future. This concludes today's session of Marketing Mob Talks. Thanks a bunch.